Before we ever reached the moon, we had to admit we were trapped and then ask one question: how far can we go? Back in 1926, this little fragile rocket lifted off the ground, barely. It was shaky, uncertain, and honestly, not that impressive. Through the 30s and 40s, things moved fast, too fast. War took something that started as curiosity and turned it into something else. Machines meant for the sky got aimed at the ground instead. But even in that mess, something else was quietly taking shape. A new kind of race, not for land, not for power, for the sky itself. By the 1960s, rockets weren't just weapons anymore. They became vessels. We climbed inside them and left the planet for the first time. What used to feel impossible started feeling routine. So naturally, we aimed higher. A rocket carried humans across that vast black silence. The next few decades were quieter, more practical. We built shuttles, satellites, invisible networks orbiting over our heads. Rockets became less about spectacle and more about infrastructure. And then things shifted again. Early 2000s, new players showed up. Companies, and they brought a whole new mindset: efficiency, reusability. In 2015, rockets started coming back, landing themselves. Then the 2020s hit. Programs like Artemis started getting serious about sending us back to the moon. And just recently, Artemis II happened. Humans flew around the moon again, decades after those last footprints faded into the dust. And then things get really interesting, because the future of rockets might not look like rockets at all. By the 2030s and 40s, reusability is just standard. Travel between Earth and Mars starts feeling less like an expedition and more like a route. Engines evolve, propulsion changes. Concepts we used to laugh off, like nuclear propulsion, start becoming real, step by careful step. Distance starts to lose its meaning. By the mid-21st century, rocket launches aren't rare events anymore. They're systems, quiet, efficient, expected. But evolution doesn't stop at efficiency. It moves toward transformation. AI starts running the show behind the scenes. Decisions humans used to make, calculated instantly. Routes through space optimized, perfected. And then we start looking beyond our solar system. And suddenly, that idea doesn't sound crazy anymore. It sounds inevitable. In the late centuries, ships aren't bound by traditional propulsion anymore. Experiments with faster-than-light travel begin, not as sci-fi, but as theory slowly becoming practice. Space bends, time stretches, travel changes. We start crossing distances that used to be the edge of imagination. Generations might still live and die on these journeys, but even that starts to shift. Suspended life systems, self-sustaining worlds built into ships, vessels that aren't really rockets anymore. They're worlds. And eventually, the line between ship and home just fades away. By the far future, what we once called a rocket doesn't really exist anymore. No thunder, no flames, just movement, silent, controlled, precise. And at the edge of all that, one final realization starts to sink in. We were never just building machines to leave Earth. We were building a way to leave limits behind. From a tiny, shaky ignition in 1926 to a future where distance might not even matter anymore, this was never really about rockets. It was always about us, our refusal to stay put, our obsession with whatever's over the horizon, and the uncomfortable truth that no matter how far we go, we'll always keep asking the same question: how far can we go?